It's the 9th of February 2026. This is a brand new edition of Newsfirst Primetime News coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Bringing you tonight's bulletin for the Newsfirst team. I am Jayama Ratnayaka.
And I am Hashini Patirana. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
Former CID DIG arrested over controversial 2019 travel ban on 704 officers. First Saint fishermen protest for fifth day outside Presidential Secretariat. Opposition representatives meet fishermen as protests continue. 10, including Venerable Balangoda Kassapathero, remanded again over Trincomalee land case. Yoshitha Desi case postponed. Date set for further hearings in Kehelia GI pipe case. Driving buses under influence could lead to license cancellation, says Transport Minister Bimal Ratnayaka. Steps taken to streamline school transport services. Government to re-examine the Occupant Protection Bill.
On to our top story for tonight. Former Deputy Inspector General of the CID, W. Tilakaratne, was arrested today and later released on bail.
Former Deputy Inspector General of Police of the Criminal Investigation Department, W. Tilakaratne, was arrested by the Police Central Crimes Investigations Bureau. The arrest was made in connection with an incident in 2019, where he allegedly imposed a foreign travel ban on 704 CID officers at his own discretion without any court order. W. Tilakaratne had been appointed to the CID shortly after Gotabaya Rajapaksa assumed office as president. Subsequently, on the 24th of November 2019, Tilakaratne issued foreign travel bans on 704 CID officers entirely on his own initiative. After being taken into custody and produced before court, the former DIG was released on a cash bail of 1 million rupees along with the travel ban imposed against him. The Satyagraha, launched by a group of fishermen engaged in the Persian or Madel fishing industry in front of the Presidential Secretariat, continued for the fifth consecutive day today. Their demand is the removal of the ban imposed on Persian fishing operations. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa and several opposition politicians have also expressed their support for the protest. So what is the real story behind all of this? Here is a detailed report. A group of fishermen began their satyagraha in front of the Presidential Secretariat on the 5th, demanding permission to use the tractor-powered winch mechanism for Persian net hauling. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, former State Minister of Fisheries Dilip Vedarachi and other opposition politicians visited the location in recent days to extend their support. Former Minister Yoshitha Gunawardena also arrived today and made a phone call to the Deputy Minister of Fisheries.
Hello,
UNP Deputy Leader Navin Dissanayake also visited the protest site this afternoon.
If this technology is wrong, then give us a better one. We first used tractors because we didn't know better. Later, the Fisheries Ministry said tractors were causing coastal erosion. We accepted that. And together with the ministry and business owners, we introduced the winch system. We were given temporary permits on the assurance that it would be regularized on the day the Gazette is issued. We are saying, show us the evidence. If what you claim is correct, we will go home.
අපේ ප්‍රශ්නේ අපිට පෙන්නලා දෙන්න. පෙන්නලා දීලා ඔබතුමාලා හරි නම් අපි ගෙදර යන්න.
මම මේ නඩු කටයුතු ඉල්ලා අස්කර ගන්නවා.
I am willing to withdraw the court cases if the President gives us a clear written decision. Until a proper procedure is established, allow us to continue with the method we have been using. I give you my responsibility. On behalf of all purse seine operators, if you give us 5 minutes with the President, I will withdraw the appeals pending before the Court of Appeal.
ඒකඟ වෙනවා.
Meanwhile, this afternoon, a group of representatives from the Fishermen's Association participated in a discussion at the Presidential Secretariat.
දැනට ජනාධිපති ලේකම් කාර්යාලයේ ජනාධිපති
We had a discussion with the Director General of the Presidential Media Division at the Presidential Secretariat. For 5 days, from the 5th to the 9th, we have been here and we have clearly stated our purpose. He listened to us fairly and informed us that he has discussed this matter with the President. A special committee appointed for this issue will receive our representations. We are not leaving this place yet. We will continue our struggle.
දෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි මේක තවදුරටත් කරගෙන යනවා.
Why has this issue resurfaced?
Using tractors or winch machines to haul purse seine nets is illegal. However, in 2016, the Ministry of Fisheries intervened and granted limited approval on an experimental basis for a selected group to use winch machines for hauling purse seine nets.
මම දැක්කාද ප්‍රවෘත්තිවල මේ අනුමැතිය ලබා දුන්නේ මම සහ දිලිප් වෙදාරච්චි.
I saw in the news today that approval for this method was granted during the time when Dilip Vedarachi and I were in office. We do not deny that. The main reason was that when I took over the Fisheries Ministry, there was an EU fish export ban in place. We worked hard to get that ban lifted, preparing everything needed to resume fish exports to Europe and many other countries. The Purse Seine Fishermen's Association met with us and explained the lack of manpower, saying they needed more than 50 people to haul the nets manually. They also pointed out that fishermen were gradually moving away from this industry due to labour shortages. We discussed this with all relevant officials and reached a consensus to allow the use of winch machines for the industry. I also saw that Deputy Minister Ratna Gamage claims this damages coral reefs and harms the environment. But this industry only operates for a few months of the year in specific locations. So we instructed that operations be carried out in identified areas to minimize environmental impact. That is why up to now, people in this country have been able to consume fish at reasonable prices.
අපි ලබා දුන්නා. ඒ නිසාවෙන්ම තමයි අද වෙනකම් මේ රටේ ජනතාව මේ මිලට හරි මාළු කන්නේ.
Is the former fisheries minister correct?
Here is the clarification from the current Director General of Fisheries.
මේක පර්යේෂණයට අවසර දීලා තියෙන 2016ට කලින්
Approval for this research was granted before 2016, but on the 24th of February 2016, the then Director General issued a letter cancelling that research level approval. We have continuously issued warnings and on certain occasions made arrests as well. At no point have the 1984 purse seine regulations been amended. This means the legally recognized method is still the traditional method. Operation permits are issued annually, but the conditions require purse seine nets to be operated only according to the 1984 regulations. We began formally enforcing this in 2021, but even last year, around June, we issued warnings before enforcement. Until 2018, these fishermen were operating purse seine nets using the traditional method. Most still do. Anyone can operate it traditionally. We do not expect anyone to abandon the industry. But if you visit a location where tractors or winch machines are used, you will see far more people gathered there compared to traditional operations.
නමුත් ඔබතුමාලා ගිහිල්ලා බැලුවොත් ඔය ට්‍රැක්ටර් සහ වින්ච් යන්ත්‍රයකින් මාදලා ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන තැන අතින් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන ප්‍රමාණයට වඩා මිනිස්සු වැඩි එතන ඉන්නවා.
What happens if approval is granted for any legal method?
Do you remember that on the 26th of January 2015, the European Union withdrew the tariff concession granted for Sri Lanka's fish exports? The EU stated at the time that illegal fishing practices and unauthorized vessels entering Sri Lankan waters were the reasons for the ban. Former Minister Mangala Samravira worked extensively, holding many rounds of discussions and succeeded in getting the ban lifted on the 17th of June 2016. But now, Sri Lanka's tariff concessions from the EU stand at a decisive point. The EU is currently evaluating whether Sri Lanka should continue receiving this concession. To retain it, Sri Lanka must fully comply with the EU's sustainability roadmap and be ready for the new digital fish catch certification system that will come into effect in 2026.
Can purse seine operations carried out using tractors or winch machines ever be certified under such a system?
If the EU suspends tariff concessions again, the opposition will certainly use it as a powerful political slogan. But for Sri Lankan fishermen and the people of this country, the negative consequences will be extremely serious.
Shouldn't these matters be taken seriously and subjected to broader national dialogue? Yesterday, the opposition leader said we lack understanding about the fisheries industry. He should not lecture us about understanding. We have already seen the level of understanding he displayed during the education reforms. He seems to think he is some kind of all-round expert in everything. We listened to his statements yesterday, and his depth, width and capacity were clearly visible. Some ministers go there and sit with the protesters. They are the very ones who created this problem for the fishermen in the first place. Not by standing with them, but by placing this burden upon them. Vedarachi should understand this clearly. Only about 150 fishermen initially obtained tractors. The hardship these people are facing today was created by those decisions. And now, with the introduction of the winch system, look at what is happening. They cast these nets 4 to 5 kilometers offshore. When the net is deployed that far out, weights are added to keep it down. We all know the ocean is fluid. The natural upward current and the waves constantly push the net upwards. To keep it down, they apply downward force with weights underneath. That is science, not speculation. What has actually happened is that Mahinda Amaraveera and Vedarachi have unintentionally driven innocent fishermen into a bottom trawling-like method. Therefore, responsibility must be taken by the Yahapalaniya government. Today, Sajith Premadasa goes to stand beside these fishermen, but it was during his government that these decisions were taken. Where was the scientific explanation back then? That is why I say the same individuals who lacked the intellectual capacity to understand this issue during their time in office should now not use innocent fishermen as political tools.
හදයට පේන අඩු මොලේ ධාරිතාවක් තියෙන තමුන්නාන්සල විපක්ෂය අහිංසක දීවරෙන් බෙල්ලට දෙන්න එපා.
In more local news, the Principal Service Union says that opposition leader Sajith Premadasa is making baseless statements and attempting to exert pressure in violation of existing laws concerning the recruitment of teachers and principals.
A group of candidates who passed the examination for grade 3 of the principal service and subsequently faced interviews met opposition leader Sajith Premadasa at his office. Following that meeting, these were the comments made by the opposition leader Sajith Premadasa.
Sri Lanka Viduhapati Seve තුන්වෙනි ශ්‍රේණියේ බඳවා ගැනීමේ ක්‍රියාවලිය තුළ
Out of those who sat for the 2019 recruitment exam for grade 3 of the Sri Lanka Principal Service, 1,858 candidates have already been appointed under the first phase and 4,800 under the second phase. At this moment, another 1,216 candidates who passed the exam are still waiting for their appointments to the grade 3 Principal Service. However, instead of ensuring justice for these 1,216 individuals, the present government is preparing to hold a brand new examination to fill the existing vacancies. These 1,216 candidates who passed the exam must be granted their permanent appointments immediately. This is the responsibility of the government, and we urge the Prime Minister to act without delay.
යුතුකම වී තිබෙනවා. ඒ වහා ඉටු කරන්නටයි අපි අග්‍රාමාත්‍යවරයාට ප්‍රකාශ කරන්නේ.
The Principal Service Union claims that the opposition leader's remarks were made without proper verification and that he is proposing actions that contradict existing law.
ඊයේ දවසේදී විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා ප්‍රකාශයක් කරලා තිබෙනවා ඒ 2019 තරඟ විභාගයෙන් අවස්ථා 3කදී නිලධාරීන් බඳවගෙන ඉතිරි වෙලා ඉන්න කණ්ඩායමට පත්වීම් දෙන්න කියලා විශේෂයෙන්ම අපි විපක්ෂ නායක
Yesterday, the opposition leader stated that the remaining candidates from the 2019 competitive examination should be appointed. But promotions and recruitments in the principal service cannot be made based on height. recruitment, promotion, absorption and transfers all take place strictly according to the service minute. According to that service minute, the number of candidates called for interviews should be twice the number of available vacancies. Those shortlisted must then face the structured interview, and only the required number of candidates corresponding to vacancies can be recruited from the final list. That is the proper recruitment procedure. In 2023, political appointments were blocked, after which 4,718 appointments were given based on the 2019 exam. But the court ruling clearly stated that such appointments must not be used as a precedent for future recruitment. Ignoring all of this, the opposition leader promises appointments to everyone who approaches him. Political interference has already caused severe disruptions in the education administrative service. Salary disputes, promotion delays, and many issues exist today because recruitment decisions were taken based on political needs. We strongly oppose efforts to politicize the principal service. We urge the opposition leader to read the service minute. It has been amended 5 times. It clearly outlines the recruitment procedure. This service will not allow arbitrary or politically motivated actions.
Transport Minister Bimal Ratnayake warns that bus operators will have their route permits cancelled if they deploy drivers addicted to narcotics to operate buses. The minister has informed bus owners not to employ drivers who are under the influence of drugs under any circumstances.
The primary responsibility to stop drug-using drivers lies with the bus owners. They know whether their drivers and conductors are using drugs. We are telling bus owners very clearly, do not allow it. Your route permit can be taken away. We will not accept claims that you didn't know. A bus owner cannot say he is unaware if his driver or conductor uses drugs. Instead of risking your license, hire the many young capable drivers in our villages who are not addicted to drugs. If you don't, you will lose your business when your permit is cancelled. This is now the law, and enforcing it is the responsibility of both the police and our ministry. Therefore, everyone, drivers, conductors and bus owners must follow the rules.
ආසිම් බෑල වගේ කතා කරලා අමාත්‍යවරයාට වගකීමෙන් කියන්නේ පෞද්ගලික බස් හතකරුවෝ දැන් මෙච්චර කාලයක් නිහඬව හිටියා. ඒක දැන් වසර ගණනාවක් පුරාම දැක්ක මද්‍රව්‍ය වලට ඇබ්බැහි වෙච්ච රියදුරු සහ කොන්දොස්තරුන් ඉන්නවා කියලා. ඉතින් මේක
These comments came out of nowhere. Private bus owners have stayed silent for a long time, but we know very well that there are drivers and conductors addicted to drugs. The timekeepers on each route know exactly who these people are. This industry is already struggling. The minister must understand that if he continues to threaten bus owners like this, he will push them to the wall. If we stage a 2 or 3 day strike, let's see what happens to the government. So we ask the minister, do not provoke bus owners unnecessarily. If action is taken only against private buses, then CTB buses must be checked too. If you push us, we are ready to show our strength.
නමුත් බස් අත හිමිකරුවන්ට එවැනි තාඩන පීඩන දාන්න එනවා නම් අපි සූදානම් ඒකට ඒ අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු කරන්න අපි සූදානම්. අපි අපේ ශක්තිය අපි අමාත්‍යවරයාට පෙන්නන්නම්. ඒතර බලාගමු ආණ්ඩුවට මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලා. ඒකෙන් මොකද කරන්න යන්නේ? බස් ටික නවත්තන මුල් ලංකාවෙම. වෙන මොනවා කරන්නද? අපේ බස් හිමියා වෙනුවෙන් බස් ටික නවත්තලා දාන්න මුල් ලංකාවෙම. ඒතර බලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. එයාට ওই හෙන්චයියෝ බස් කීප දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා වගේ හිතා හෙන්චයියෝ. පුළුවන් නම් හෙන්චයියෝ තියාගෙන බස් ටික දුවා ගන්න කියන්නකො.
Meanwhile, a discussion regarding the regulation of school transport services was held today between officials of the National Transport Commission and the Ministry of Education under the leadership of Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya. The responsibility for establishing an organised school transport framework has been assigned to the National Transport Commission. Regulatory guidelines have already been drafted, and the meeting also focused on new proposals that should be included in the framework. The discussion further emphasised the need to meet transportation requirements that will arise under new education reforms and the reorganisation of schools. Ensuring a streamlined transport system for school children, minimising existing issues, improving efficiency and strengthening the school transport service or SISU was also highlighted.
The Attorney General today informed the Supreme Court that the government is reconsidering the Protection of Occupants Bill that was presented to Parliament. The Attorney General further stated that the government intends to introduce an amended version of the bill after incorporating necessary revisions.
Disposition was conveyed by Additional Solicitor General Sumati Dharmawardena, appearing on behalf of the Attorney General when 6 petitions filed challenging the Protection of Occupants Bill were taken up for consideration today. He also informed the court that the Minister of Justice has allowed a 1-month period starting from the 3rd of February for the public to submit comments and proposals regarding the bill. Accordingly, a committee comprising experts, including representatives from the Attorney General's Department, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka and the Ministry of Justice will review the public's comments and proposals. The Additional Solicitor General added that the concerns raised by the petitioners will also be examined during this process. After considering all submissions, the expert committee is expected to present a report to the Minister of Justice outlining the recommended amendments to the bill. A letter containing these details sent by the Secretary to the Ministry of Justice to the Attorney General was also submitted to the court by the Additional Solicitor General. At that point, President's Counsel Faiza Mustafa, along with other attorneys appearing for the petitioners, informed the court that there is no longer a need to proceed with the petitions. Accordingly, the Supreme Court granted permission for the petitions to be withdrawn. The Attorney General informed the Supreme Court that the Minister of Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs has decided to re-examine the legality of the agreements entered into with private companies for issuing electronic visas during the previous administration. This was revealed when the fundamental rights petitions filed by President's Counsel M.A. Sumandiran, Patali Champika Ranawaka, Raf Hakim and several others challenging the relevant cabinet decision were taken up again today. The petitions were heard before a Supreme Court bench comprising Chief Justice Preeti Padman Surasena, Justice Shiran Gunaratna and Justice Achala Venkapuli. Additional Solicitor General Viveka Sirivardhana, appearing for the Attorney General, informed the court that the Public Security Minister has decided to reconsider the legality of the agreements signed with private companies. She further stated that discussions on the matter are currently underway and requested a date to update the court on the progress. At that point, President's Counsel M.A. Sumandiran, appearing as a petitioner, told the court that only the Supreme Court has the authority to determine the legality of such agreements. He added that the process has caused a significant financial loss to the country, resulting in violations of the fundamental rights of the people, and therefore he expects a ruling from the court on the matter. Chief Justice Preeti Padman Surasena then observed that it would be appropriate to allow the respondents time to review the legality of the agreements and present their findings. Accordingly, the bench ordered that the petitions be called again on the 25th of March for an update on the progress of the review.
The group, including Venerable Balangoda Kassapatera, who was arrested in connection with the land dispute in Trincomalee, have been remanded again until the 11th. This order was issued when the related case was taken up again today before the Trincomalee Magistrates Court.
Coastal conservation authorities had granted time to remove a restaurant that was being operated on a coastal plot in Trincomalee when a group from Colombo also intervened and launched a protest. During the protest, Venerable Balangoda Kassapatera and several others installed a Buddha statue at the location, and a tense situation arose when a senior police officer in the area attempted to intervene. The protesters claimed that the land had been allocated to the Sri Sambuddhatwa Jayanti Bodhi Rajya Vihara during the tenure of President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Following investigations into the incident, the police arrested 10 suspects and produced them before the court. Venerable Balangoda Kassapatera, who is said to have led and organised the protest, Venerable Trincomalee Kalyana Wansatissatera, the chief incumbent of the Trincomalee Sri Sambuddhatwa Jayanti Bodhi Rajya Vihara, Venerable Trincomalee Sukita Wansatissatera and Venerable Trincomalee Nandathera were among those arrested. In addition, UMP Trincomalee organizer Deepani Liyanage said to have mediated in operating the restaurant on rent, along with Viduranga Lokugalappatti, LT Pereira, Pial Premasiri, Dularu Gunatilaka, Sudeepa Liyanage and Sugat Prasanna were also named as suspects in the case. The suspects were once again produced before Trincomalee Chief Magistrate MSM Samsudin this morning. Since a bail application related to the case was scheduled to be taken up today before the High Court, the magistrate postponed the proceedings. The bail application was considered today before Trincomalee High Court Judge Abdullah Maharoof. Appearing for the Attorney General, State Counsel Karana Kothalawala stated that objections to granting bail would be filed. The State Counsel requested time for this purpose. The High Court judge granted the request and postponed the case until the 11th. Thereafter, the case pending before the Magistrates Court was also reviewed again, and the magistrate decided to postpone that case too until the 11th. Accordingly, the suspects were ordered to remain in remand custody until that date. A number of individuals, including politicians, had gathered near the court complex during today's proceedings.
Today, both the Magistrates Court and the High Court heard matters related to the case involving the 4 monks and the 6 others who are currently in remand. We have submitted bail applications for all 10 suspects in High Court. We came today expecting bail, but today's hearing was only the returnable date to check if notices to the respondents were properly served. At that point, the Attorney General's side requested time to file their objections. Therefore, the High Court decided to call the case again on the next date.
The Colombo High Court today ordered that the case filed against Yoshitha Rajapaksa, the son of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, and his grandmother Daisy Forrest, under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, be taken up again on the 24th of April. Now, the case was called before High Court Judge Rashmi Singapuli.
During the hearing, Senior State Counsel Oswald Pereira informed the court that the expert medical report requested from the Colombo Judicial Medical Officer regarding whether the second accused is in a mental condition fit to face trial has not yet been received. Therefore, the Senior State Counsel requested the court to grant a new date to proceed with the case until the relevant medical report is submitted. After considering the submissions, the judge ordered that the case be recalled on the 24th April. The indictment alleges that between the 31st March 2009 and the 12th December 2013, the accused committed offences under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act by depositing a sum exceeding 59 million rupees, the source of which they were unable to satisfactorily explain, into 3 fixed deposit accounts in private banks. The Attorney General has filed the case with 3 charges against the accused. The further hearing of the case filed against former Minister Kehiliya Rambukwella and 2 others has been scheduled for the 14th March. The case has been filed by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, accusing the defendants of committing offences related to corruption. The matter was taken up before Colombo High Court Judge Muhammad Mihail. The charges relate to the alleged misuse of nearly 1 million rupees from the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Cooperation during the 2015 presidential election by purchasing 600 GI pipes for political activities, thereby causing a financial loss to the state. The defendants named in the indictment are former Minister Kehiliya Rambukwella, former Chairman of the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Cooperation Vimal Rupasinghe, and former Director General Chandrapala Liyanage.
The Voice Team's Sri Lanka Season 3. The third phase of the local or global franchise is here, and with a whole new world of experiences, Sirasa TV is getting ready to bring to you very soon.
Yeah, this is the moment. The mic is calling. Season 3 is...
This season of The Voice Teens the Sri Lanka is truly special. Why? Because Season 3 is officially open to Sri Lanka's brand new generation, Gen Alpha, youngsters between 13 and 18, stepping into the spotlight for the very first time. This is not just a dream, it is a life-changing frame. Inside this frame are thousands of Gen Alpha teens, boys and girls who stepped forward over the past months to compete in the audition rounds of The Voice Teens Season 3.
Show the world with the fire within. Voice Team Season 3, let the legends spin.
Generation Alpha. From those auditions, 160 talented Gen Alpha contestants were selected for the blind auditions. Today, they stepped into the iconic Stein Studios in Rambukwella, ready to grab their moment inside this life-changing frame. How does one become the next level personality inside The Voice Teens Season 3? Here is what Shivan Daniel, the group director of the Capital Maharaja Group and head of MTV MBC, had to say.
Next level එකට යන්න සිහිනයක් දකිනවා නම් talent එක ගැන විතරක් depend වෙන්න එපා.
To reach the next level, talent alone isn't enough. You need discipline in mind, body and spirit. Every contestant here has a unique story. That uniqueness is not a weakness. It's your strength. Let your story shine through your singing and your performance. The world is searching for artists with something special. And remember, the voice isn't the destination. It's only a doorway, an opportunity to change your life.
මේ voice එක හරහා තමගේ ජීවිතේ වෙනස් කරගන්න opportunity එකක් හදාගන්න.
ලංකාවේ එකම ආයතනය වරලත් වැඩසටහන ලංකාවට ගෙනල්ලා මේ විදිහට ඒ ජාත්‍යන්තර මට්ටමේ නිෂ්පාදනය වෙන වැඩසටහනක් කරන එකම ස්ථානය මේ ස්ටයින් මෙදිරි සංකීර්ණ.
Stein Studios is Sri Lanka's only facility that brings global format franchises to the country at this level. For us, it's like a university. Even being a part of a production of this scale is a form of victory. Not everyone may win the title, but every contestant can build the foundation for their future. With commitment, passion, discipline and the right attitude, your life can rise to incredible new heights.
ලොගුණු කරගත්තොත් ඔබේ ජීවිතය ඉතාමත් ඉහළට ගෙන යන්න පුළුවන් තත්ත්වයක් මේ වැඩසටහන තුලින් ඔබට ළඟා කරගන්න පුළුවන්.
These are the creators of the next generation. Trendsetters on social media, hearts capturing audiences nationwide, and young stars carrying Sri Lankan talent onto the international stage. The Voice Teens Sri Lanka. Sirasa TV is getting ready to bring you the stunning, immersive third phase very soon. Remember, this is not just a dream. It is a life-changing frame.
Generation Alpha. The new voice is here.
A large number of devotees from across the island are gathering at the Hunupitiya Gangaramya temple in Colombo to pay homage to the Sarvagnya relics. The exposition of the sacred Sarvagnya relics is scheduled to continue until 7 a.m. the day after tomorrow. The Sarvagnya relics currently enshrined at the Gangaramya temple were discovered some time ago at the archaeological site of Devnimori in Gujarat, India. This marks the first time these revered relics have travelled outside India, making the event historically significant for Buddhist devotees in Sri Lanka.
ජනාධිපති ලේකම් කාර්යාලය, ඒ වගේ බුද්ධ ශාසන අමාත්‍යාංශය සහ අනිකුත් ආයතන බොහොමයක් ඒ පහසුකම් සැලසීමේ කටයුතු වල නියැල සිටි අතර විශේෂයෙන්ම සිහිපත් කරන්න ඕන කොළඹ දිස්ත්‍රික් ලේකම් කාර්යාලය ඒ ණයට ආහාර පාන ආදී සපයා දෙමින් ඒ අයගේ ආහාර සූපහසුව ගැන හොයලා බැලුවා. 10 වෙනිදා අපි ඉල්ලීමක් කරනවා රාත්‍රී 10න් පස්සේ ධාතුන් වහන්සේලා වන්දනා කරන්න පොලිමට එකතු වෙන්න එපා කියලා. මොකද 11 වෙනිදා උදෑසන 6ට ධාතුන් වහන්සේලා මේ පුදබිමෙන් නැවත ඉන්දියාව බලා වැඩම කරවීමට නියමිතව තියෙනවා.
The Governor of Madhya Pradesh, Mahangubhai Patel, and the Deputy Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh, Chauna Main, who arrived in the island to escort the relics back to India, visited Ganga Ramya today to pay their respects.
නරේන්ද්‍ර මෝඩි අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමාටත් ජනාධිපති අනුකුමාර දිසානායක මැතිතුමාටත් කිරින්දේ අස්සජීව් නායක ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේටත් සකල ශ්‍රී ලාංකික බෞද්ධ ජනතාව වෙනුවෙන් ශ්‍රී ලංකා පාර්ලිමේන්තුව වෙනුවෙන් මගේ අවංක ආදර ස්තුතිය මේ අවස්ථාවේ මම පුද කරන්න කැමතියි.
පැය 7ක් පමණ වෙහෙස වෙලා පෝලිං වල එන ජනතාවට අපි විශේෂ දන්සල් මාලාවක් සංවිධානය කළා තියෙනවා. පැය 24ම ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා මේ දන්සල්. රැටත් දවල්ටත් එකසේම පැමිණෙන ජනතාවගේ පහසුව සඳහා අපි ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනවා.
මේ සඳහා සම්බන්ධ වුණ නායක මාහිම්පාණන් වහන්සේලා ඇතුළු සියලු දෙනාටම අපිත් වන්දනා කරගත්ත ඒ පින අනුමෝදන් කරනවා.
මේ හරි සතුටුයි. අපි ඇත්තට ඉන්දියාවේ යන්නේ නැතුව මෙහෙදීම බලා ගන්න ලැබුණ එක ගැන.
බුදුහාමුදුරුවෝ දැක්කා වගේ හා සමාන සතුටුයි. සාදු සාදු.
හැම කිලෝමීටරම් පිසිත් දෙනවා ඔබ තමුන්ලාසලා කියලා.
ඒ සතුට කියලා ඉවර කරන්න බෑ. ලොකු පිනක්.
The ceremonial relics were brought to Ganga Ramya on the 4th of February following a request made by President Anukumar Dissanayake to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi following the President's visit to India.
News First with the people.
Sri Lanka is confronting one of its most catastrophic natural disasters in recent memory as new data from the United Nations Cyclone Ditwa situation report reveals the scale of destruction left behind by the storm.
The government of Sri Lanka had requested the United Nations activation of the Humanitarian Priorities Plan in December 2025 to support 658,000 of the most vulnerable citizens through April 2026. Since its launch, the HPP has provided life-saving assistance to 216,000 people, delivered through 68 partner organizations, including 44 NGOs and 10 INGOs. Women account for more than half of the beneficiaries, while 4,500 people with disabilities have also been reached. One of the most devastating sectors has been education. Newly compiled data confirmed that 1,682 primary and secondary schools were affected, disrupting education for nearly 823,000 children. Key learning materials, textbooks, bags, uniforms remain in short supply for 458,609 school-aged children and 68,000 preschoolers, while 900 children with disabilities urgently need customized supplies. More than 1,382 schools and 2,720 preschools require repairs or replacements of essential infrastructure. Around 500 schools that served as temporary shelters need thorough cleaning and sanitation upgrades. Nutrition risks are escalating, especially among children and pregnant women. Diet quality has deteriorated dramatically, with limited access to protein, fruits and vegetables. The report identifies that 161,013 people need nutrition support, 3,500 children requiring treatment for severe acute malnutrition, and 32,000 children requiring support for moderate acute malnutrition. Of the $35.3 million required for the HPP, only $22.4 million has been funded, leaving a $12.8 million gap. Several life-saving sectors, including health, agriculture, nutrition, and education, remain underfunded. Additional international support outside the HPP totals $17.17 million alongside massive in-kind contributions ranging from medical teams and drones to food packs, boats, generators, and tents provided by more than 20 countries.
The Department of Posts has announced price revisions to a number of postal categories.
Local postal charges have been revised with effect from today. Accordingly, the minimum postage rate of 50 rupees will be increased to 70 rupees. The basic weight category for ordinary and business letter services has been revised from 20 grams to 30 grams. In addition, the department says that charges for the distribution of promotional leaflets have been categorized based on whether the delivery is within the local delivery zone or to an external delivery zone. The maximum weight allowed for a single leaflet or a set of leaflets has been increased from 100 grams to 120 grams.
The Asian Development Bank, or the ADB, announced the appointment of Shannon Calvin as its new country director for Sri Lanka. New ADB Country Director Shannon Cowlin officially assumed duties at the ADB Sri Lanka Resident Mission in Colombo this morning. She noted that ADB has stood by Sri Lanka through some of its most challenging periods, from the global disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic to the nation's recent economic crisis, which left deep social and structural impacts. Her appointment brings more than 26 years of professional experience, including 13 years within ADB, where she has worked extensively on investment project design, policy engagement and cross-sector knowledge initiatives.
Today marks the 37th day of the second phase of the LOLC Divisavya, You, Me and Our Nation social welfare program. This program, which is being implemented with the aim of renovating 200 schools damaged by Cyclone Ditwa, focused its activities today across the Kandy, Matale, Ratnapura and Badulla districts.
The renovated buildings of Gampola Aniruddha Kumara National School, Telihunagama Vidyalaya Primary School and Udapitiya Husna Muslim Mahavidyalaya were handed over to students today. The renovated buildings of Matale Alkadua Sinhala Vidyalaya, Hapavida Government Vidyalaya and Muandenya Vidyalaya were handed over to students as follows. The renovated buildings at Jaduru Mahavidyalaya and Gunaratna Vidyalaya in Ambalipitiya Ratnapura were handed over to students today. The renovated buildings of Kottagoda Udagama Vidyalaya in Badulla, Passara Semoli Tamil Vidyalaya and Ulvakale Tamil Vidyalaya were handed over to the students as follows. Incumbent Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's Liberal Democratic Party secured a historic victory at Japan's most recent election, while Thailand's ruling party, led by its Prime Minister, is also projected to win this year's general election based on preliminary voting results. To cover these and other key global developments today, we now cross over to Newsfirst Vinuji Senvi Ratna. Vinuji?
Thank you, Hashini. Taking a look at international news, making headlines across the world, we have elections in Japan and Thailand. Taking a look at court case of Jimmy Lai. And also we are moving on to see what the IMF has to say, and then moving on to this Iranian Nobel Peace Prize winner who remains imprisoned. Now, shifting your attention to Japan, the Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's Liberal Democratic Party secured a historic landslide victory in Sunday's lower house election with NHK progressions showing the party securing a 2/3 supermajority in the 465-seat lower house by itself. Now, this is a big moment for the Parliament of Japan, as it has secured, a single party has been able to secure the supermajority in the lower house. Let's take a look.
これより高市総裁による当確者に対するばらつきを行います。ご臨席の役員の皆様は壇上にお上がりください。
The conservative Takaichi, Japan's first female leader who says she is inspired by Britain's Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher, delivered 316 seats of the 465 in Parliament's lower house for her Liberal Democratic Party, its best ever result. With coalition partner, the Japan Innovation Party, known as Ishin, Takaichi controls 352 seats and a supermajority of 2/3 of seats, easing her legislative agenda as she can override the upper chamber, where she does not have a majority.
I think the current cabinet is a good team. It's still only just over 3 months since it was launched, but the members have been working really hard and are producing results, so I don't think I will change it. Most parties are in favor of reducing the consumption tax, such as reducing the tax on food items to 0 or to 5%, or reducing the tax on all items to 5%. The LDP has also campaigned for a consumption tax cut. I strongly want to call for the establishment of a super party forum to speed up discussions on this, as it is a big issue.
US President Donald Trump congratulated Takaichi on the result, wishing her, quote, great success in passing your conservative peace through strength agenda, end quote, in a social media post. Trump said, quote, Sanaya's bold and wise decision to call for an election paid off big time, end quote. Who will host Takaichi at the White House next month? Takaichi, 64 years old, called the rare winter snap election to capitalize on her beyond personal approval ratings since she was elevated to lead the long-ruling LDP late last year. Voters have been drawn to her straight-talking, hard-working image, but her nationalistic leanings and emphasis on security have strained ties with Japan's powerful neighbor China, while her promises of tax cuts have rattled financial markets. Residents trudged through snow to cast their ballots with record snowfall in some parts, snarling traffic and requiring some polling stations to close early. It was only the third post-war election held in February, with elections typically called during milder months.
Now, Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul has claimed victory in Thailand's general election, with preliminary vote counts putting his ruling Conservatives well ahead of their rivals. Anutin said his success belonged to, quote-unquote, all Thais, no matter whether you voted for us or not, after his party's expected result defied opinion polls that had placed the Reformist People's Party ahead. Let's take a look.
Thai Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul's Boom Jai Thai party won a clear victory in yesterday's general election, raising the prospect that a more stable coalition may now succeed in bringing an end to a period of prolonged political instability. Anutin set the stage for the snap election in mid-December during a border conflict between Thailand and Cambodia, a move political analysts said appeared to be timed by the Conservative leader to cash in on surging nationalism. It is a gamble that paid off a Prime Minister who, having taken over after Premier Paetongtarn Shinawatra of the populist Pheu Thai party, was ousted over the Cambodian crisis, then dissolved the parliament less than 100 days later. With nearly 95% of polling stations reporting, preliminary results released by the Election Commission showed that Boom Jai Thai party winning about 192 seats compared to 117 for the Progressive People's Party and 74 for the once dominant Pheu Thai party. A handful of other parties won a combined 117 spots in the 500-seat parliament, according to a foreign media calculation of Election Commission data.
IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva has issued a strikingly balanced message to governments across the developing world. While emerging economies are outperforming advanced nations thanks to strong policies and disciplined monetary frameworks, their progress is still overshadowed by rising vulnerabilities and an uncertain global landscape. Here's what the IMF Managing Director had to comment on the matter.
Our research shows that emerging markets have more independent central banks, clearer inflation targets to anchor monetary policy, less reliance on foreign exchange interventions to absorb stocks, fiscal policy that is well anchored in medium-term frameworks. I am particularly impressed how many countries moved forward with adopting fiscal rules so they can have entrenched budget discipline for their economies. Simply put, good policies pay off. Growth rates across emerging markets at around 4% this year exceed by a large margin those of advanced economies that are around 1.5%. and the share of emerging markets in the world economy well exceeds half. We are now at over 56% in the pie that we create together. Yet let me give us a note of caution. Growth still lacks pre-pandemic levels, and this is doubly concerning as we will surely experience more shocks, but face them with depleted fiscal buffers in many places, with high spending pressures practically everywhere, and rising debt levels in many countries.
The International Monetary Fund and the Arab Monetary Fund are further deepening their cooperation under a renewed Memorandum of Understanding signed by Dr. Kristalina Georgieva, the IMF Managing Director, and Dr. Fahad M. Al-Turki, Director General and Chairman of the AMF. Under the updated MOU, the AMF and the IMF will expand collaboration through closer alignment on surveillance and lending, deeper partnership on training and technical assistance, and enhanced information and data exchange.
Nobel Peace Prize winner Nargis Mohammadi has been handed further prison sentences of 7.5 years by an Iranian court. The human rights activist was sentenced to 6 years for gathering and collusion and 1.5 years for propaganda activities by a court in the northern east city of Mashhad.
Salam Azadi, Zindagi Azadi, Azadi
Iranian authorities said at the time that Mohammadi was arrested in December for making provocative remarks at a memorial ceremony. Her family said she was taken to hospital after being beaten during the arrest. Nargis Mohammadi's lawyer, Mostafa Nili, who spoke to Mohammadi for the first time since the 14th of December, said she had also been handed a 2-year ban on leaving the country and 2 years of exile to the eastern Kufr region. The Nargis Foundation, which supports her, described the hearing on Saturday as a sham and explained she had begun a hunger strike on the 2nd of February. Nili said she had been taken to hospital 3 days ago due to her poor physical condition before being returned to the detention center she is being held in. Mohammadi has already spent more than 10 years of her life in prison. The Nargis Foundation says the latest sentence brings the total time she has been ordered to spend in prison to 44 years. Since 2021, she has been serving a 13-year sentence for propaganda activity against the state and collusion against state security, charges that she denies. The activist was given temporary release from Tehran's notorious Evin prison for 3 weeks in December 2024 on medical grounds. She was expected to return to prison soon after, where she was serving multiple sentences. The most recent arrest came as she attended a memorial for Khosrow Alikordi, a lawyer who had been found dead in his office in early December. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign minister says that Tehran's right to enrich uranium on its own soil must be recognized for nuclear talks with the United States to succeed, 2 days after the two sides held indirect discussions in Muscat aimed at testing whether diplomacy can be revived. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi told reporters at a foreign policy conference in Tehran that Friday's Muscat talks were limited to the nuclear file and that Iran would not negotiate on missiles or regional issues. Araghchi said the results of the Muscat round were being reviewed and that both sides were waiting for decisions in their capitals on whether to proceed, with any next round expected to remain indirect and potentially be held outside Oman. He added that Iran would not negotiate its missile program or regional policies, pushing back against US calls to widen the agenda. Tehran's top diplomat described the first Muscat meeting as a test of seriousness, adding that talks would continue only if Iran concluded the United States was acting in good faith. He also said Iran had increased consultations with regional states compared with past nuclear diplomacy, and that Tehran had kept Russia and China informed of the process.
That's all the international news we have for you today. It's back to the main news studio.
Finally, in sports news, the action of the ongoing ICC T20 World Cup continued today with 3 group stage encounters taking place. Scotland took on Italy in the first match of the day, followed by an encounter between Zimbabwe and Oman, while the final match of the day between South Africa and Canada is currently underway in Ahmedabad. The tournament is being co-hosted by India and Sri Lanka.
The day's clashes kicked off with Scotland taking on World Cup debutants Italy in a Group C encounter played at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata. Scotland claimed a confident win to open their account at this year's tournament, beating Italy by 73 runs. Batting first, Scotland surpassed the 200-run mark to post 207 for just 4 wickets, thanks to George Munsey, who gave Scotland a rapid start and then went on to post 84 runs off just 54 deliveries. Brandon McMullen was not out on 41 of 18 balls. In reply, Italy fell for just 134 runs, losing the encounter by 73 runs. Benjamin Monetti was Italy's top scorer, reaching a half-century. Michael Leask claimed 4 scalps for just 17 runs. The second encounter of the day was played at the SEC grounds in Colombo between Oman and Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe won the toss and elected to bowl first. Richard Garava, Blessing Muzarabani and Brad Evans claimed 3 wickets each to restrict Oman to just 103 runs. In reply, Zimbabwe opener Brian Bennett carried his bat, ending on 48 runs as Zimbabwe cruised to victory in just 13.3 overs.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.